Hi! We have had a lot of movement since our last vlog.
That is an understatement.
Literally. I hope you can see the beautiful Gulaga behind us here. And I've been laughing a bit at myself because it's been many, many years I've been praying for a spiritual mother, and we've done a few ceremonies at Gulaga Mountain, and I always thought the spiritual mother would be a human, but I think the mountain has just called us and said, no, we'll give you the mother energy you're looking for. Build here, build the retreat center here. So yeah, we've just moved into this new house and place and been here a week and a bit now.
Yeah, about a week and a bit. The name that's come to us is Dharani, or if I could try and do an R roll, because it's double.
Dharani.
Dharani, which means spotty gum in the Durga language, which is probably the most dominant species of eucalypt here on the property. And spotty gum also has a particularly strong connection and resonance with me, and then also with Savannah, because we did our placenta burials, literally Savannah's flesh and blood placenta buried under a spotty gum.
And your spiritual ceremony.
Yeah, that's right. I've almost sort of come to take the spotty as
They feel like family.
Yeah, family plant totem for Savannah and I.
Yeah.
And what's really funny, just to jump into an anecdote, before we moved here, I'd had this sense of like, well, if the spotty gum is the dominant species and we're going to be relying on it for firewood, does that mean I might have to chop down a spotty gum? Which sort of, from a totemic perspective, you know, it would potentially be a bit of a no-no. And I was speaking to the previous owner of this property when we got here, and he kind of laughed when I talked about having to chop down a tree. He said, there's 50 acres. I've never had to chop down a tree in the whole time I've lived here. And then we had these big winds last weekend. And it's sort of a characteristic of the spotty gum is that they sort of drop their crowns. And somebody told me you can kind of tell that a spotty gum is more mature when it's actually dropped its crown. And so maybe only 2 meters off one of the main paths here, pretty large spotty gum just dropped its crown straight on the ground. It was like, you don't need to cut me down.
I'll gift you some
wood.
wood.
No, some wood.
Let it season.
Right by the path.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was funny. So that's nice.
I just want to clarify, we don't own the land, but we worked with Lucas's parents so that instead of his future inheritance sitting in a bank, they bought this land and are our landlords now.
That's right.
And then one day he will inherit it and we can change format so it's not individual ownership anymore, but we're already bringing that spirit to it now. We've had a few people come visit and stay already in the week and a half we've been here. And yeah, we've just been like, please come, and if you need to just come and sit here or camp or visit or whatever, just yeah, it just feels like a healing space that is to be shared. And
well,
we also would like to live and feel, you know, that communal energy.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win kind of for us and for people who want to feel that sense of being part of the land and that retreat energy here and soak up some Gulaga goodness. And we don't know anything about like fixing up houses, and we don't know plenty of garden tasks that we're gonna have to learn now that this is our land and house to manage, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, but as we said on the previous vlog, like the place is so kind of set up that in a way we were able to get to work with some of our service offerings sooner than we would have thought.
Yeah.
We just interpreted that as specifically Google is saying, no, like you guys are going to learn how to do some
Yeah, don't spend
property
years building
management,
it.
but that's not your real service. Like, get to work,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, and in that vein, with the book out in The Whole World Now, Healing Through Indigenous Wisdom book, we are starting to do some book events. So we are going to a couple places in the US and one place in Canada soon, and then we'll be in Sydney and Canberra and some places around here. So slowly doing some
Yeah.
outreach. As one of our friends said, to where the book wants to be planted, just bring the seeds and see
That's
what
right.
happens.
I think there's a real balance to be had, because like we were saying, the energy of the place feels too big for us to just live here by ourselves, like castle lords, even if we wanted to, and without. But then the key is that the world is also quite a chaotic place sometimes, and so we don't want to make ourselves too vulnerable to those energies either. So it's really about saying to relationships that we're able to build as person to person as we can, come be on the land and let things sort of unfold with us, which is
Be in reciprocity
yeah,
here.
which is beautiful,
So yes, hopefully some of you watching we will get to welcome here in future, and we'll start doing some intentional ceremony work in the coming months here, and physically setting up a space where we can have workshops and actual retreats. We had a retreat series sort of come to us we've been fleshing out, and a couple people are going to help out with getting that off the ground next year.
Yeah.
To go along with the re-indigenizing and decolonizing work in the book, because a book only gets us so far. It's not embodied and
Yeah.
it's not in community, so we'll add that offering. And it's just been lovely to see how just even in the short time we've been here, like you've gotten right into land care. We're still unpacking, and he's figured out this grass is a weed and it's bad for fires and it spreads quickly, and he's already digging it out. And our greyhound's figured out this little corridor. She's got a track she's made, and she's running herself back and forth, and Savannah's running around like a little wild child,
Yeah.
testing edges
And
here.
I was pleased to see a small log across the track, because it meant I got to bust out my chainsaw.
That's right.
And I think that's for me, part of being more connected with the earth is to set ourselves up in such a way that the activities we do, they're not frivolous. And what I mean by frivolous, I don't mean that in a judgmental way, but connected to our survival. And so the fact that the chainsaw was a tool to help unblock a path, I don't know, it just adds a certain
And get
meaning
wood.
and weight to the task.
And wood that you can use in the fire to keep you warm.
So
it's
a fun task, or at least I found it fun, but it also has meaning on a deeper level to our survival. And I think that's part of what we need to get back to, is feeling connected to the earth through our labor, but in a way that is necessary, not just something that we talk about like a hobby or a frivolity or something.
aesthetic. Yeah.
That's right. So obviously not everybody has that opportunity. And if you watch our last Sacred Dialogue with Tim, he covers the theme of like people doing really interesting things to bring
In
that
urban
that
spaces.
rewilding into
Yeah.
to cities. And if we were still in the city, I'd be right into that. But fortunately, thanks to Spirit and Gulaga and opportunities that my family have been able to help us with, we can be on a more rural setting, but there's a lot of interesting things happening in cities too if you look. So
Yeah. And we're just excited to see what unfolds. This dream has been a long time coming, and yet we thought it would take longer to come into being than it
yeah,
has.
no, like we said in the last video, Gulaga was like, nah, get to work.
So it's been a bit of a whirlwind, and then we're going overseas, and then we'll be back and resettled. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's already feeling just that bit more relaxed and that bit more spacious here. And
Yeah.
um,
Well, that's part of why I would say this place picked us, because it so obviously is a healing space. And
the land has so much power. You
That's
can
right.
just feel it. Yeah.
which is great, because it means that in doing our ceremony, in a lot of ways, we're responding to the signals that we're getting from the land. You know, it's that creative sky energy balanced with the embodied bottom up energy. And I think in the modern world we're too much weighted towards the sky, and that's almost a synonym for neuroticism in a way. And so
It's a very much wait and see what
Yeah.
emerges kind
Yeah.
of energy for us at the moment. And it's been surprising as well in some ways what's come together and what hasn't in our travels. And
but all of a sudden the timeline of it and the process feels much more easeful. And that's something that I'm very grateful for, because as people come along with us on the journey, we sort of have to emphasize that journey keyword underlined in bold. It is a process, and we're just getting started here on the land, and it's
we're
already
getting started here, but I do want to make sure I point out that the actual process of reaching the point of getting to the land
Right.
and how much work has gone into this and how many years we rented and got kicked out of everywhere we rented in Australia, literally, because somebody wanted to sell, or they didn't want a kid there, or whatever the stories were, right?
Well, so I'm still learning to articulate the work in the invisible and value the work in the invisible.
Yeah, how much work
Yeah.
and how much work you did specifically with your parents, who your dad in particular is very colonial minded, and just to bring this into being has been huge before it's entered the physical. Huge.
Thank you, Valerie. Valerie's going to have to be pointing that out to me for some time yet, because my mind just starts to flutter into the concrete as a habitual pattern. And it's like, no, actually, she's dead right. This, in many ways, is a fruiting. So it's a process and a fruiting at the same time.
It's a start. It's
Which
a
is
starting
great.
in the physical here, but it's been so long in the invisible and so much work.
Well, what a beautiful idea to close on then, is that as our lives unfold, you can be simultaneously experiencing the fruit of previous change and work, while still humbly recognizing that you're in the midst of a beginning of an unfolding process. It's like,
and it's spring here.
That's
so
right.
Rebirth is perfectly
It's literally spring, which in Australia is subtle, and that's part of what's exciting about really paying attention to the land, is that the seasons have this subtlety to them, and certainly the Aboriginal people here in Australia would focus so much on the comings and goings of different animals to mark the seasons. Like, it was less about celestial change.
And flowering plants.
That's right. They did notice the celestial calendar, but the calendars were almost more built around
land-based.
what to us as European colonists would have seemed like invisible, like almost trivial changes. And they're like, well, no, clearly this season has changed because that plant's flowering. So I'm hoping to learn some of that.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you, and welcome to Dhirani.
Yeah. Dhirani Peace Center. Here we are.